Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. I've been away for a little while, busy with work. It's not because I've got bored with lock sport or went on a ayahuasca retreat or I went up Beaver Mountain and picked a whole bunch of golden top magic mushrooms and met a hippie chick up there and my whole life changed. Nothing like that happened. I've just been busy with work. To the other lock sporters who have channels and I'm a part of your family, my apologies. I am trying to get back and see some of the videos that I missed. If I do miss one or two, well, that's how it goes. But yeah, not my intention. It's just the way real life is going at the moment. But yeah, so shout out to everyone. I hope you're all going well. If you've been stuck at home and sucking your thumb and having Shua lock sport withdrawals, I apologise. I do know I have that effect on people, but nothing I can do about it at the moment. So anyway, this video is actually a bit different. Excuse me. I'd like you to go and read the description. I'm going to leave a link in there. Shoot you over to another channel and a video in particular. Another Australian YouTuber. He's not actually a lock sporter, but he's done lock sport right around the world, a dead set solid. And how it happened was that I sent him an email because his channel actually has content that is about product review around camping gear, backpacks and all that, everyday carry items, and like the preppers bags and stuff like that. He also has another side. He has like a video blog going on where he's been doing a couple of different diets that doesn't include him to have to exercise, and he's been reviewing that too. So it's an interesting channel, but I contacted him about his product reviews because he's got a whole bunch of different pouches that are by VanQuest and Expedition, and I explained to him generalized about what lock sport is and that we are looking for a type of pouch that is bigger than the pouches that we have, that can fit other tools in it and our lockpick kit. And I explained to him that if I use this as an example, imagine I want to put this in a pouch. I also want to put plug followers. I want to put certain, screwdrivers like these, a circlip remover. I want to put, bump keys in there, a couple of different locks. I want to put a pair of pliers in it, a whole bunch of different hand files for cutting key blanks. Put some key blanks in there. I want to put a mini first aid kit with some band-aids and that in there. And, I might even put, if you've seen them really small tubes of WD-40, they're only like that wide. I wouldn't mind one of them in there. Some wet and dry sandpaper folded up in there and all that. But I want this pouch so I can go around to my mate's house when I'm getting on the piss or something or whatever, and I don't want to carry a backpack or a bloody handbag or a toolbox or something like this. I'm just looking for that pouch that's perfect. And he has a whole different versions of the two brands that have got different sizes, different setups, different ways and designs that the pockets are designed inside these pouches. And in one video he goes through as many different models as that he can to answer my question. So thank you very much for that, Bruz, and shout out to you, to the lock sport community. Shoot over there and watch that video, because I've never seen a video that could actually be relevant to us, looking at the product of pouches and not just, this pouch and then a week later they look at something else, actually to lay them all out on the bloody table and, measure them and put them side by side and look at the variations and all the rest like that. Very good video for us lock sporters in regard to looking for everyday carry pouch for our lock sport gear. So yeah, shoot over there and have a look at that. Second part of this video is actually a reply to his question back to me. He asked me, what is a good beginner kit to get for lock sport? Well, let me just explain this first. Lock sport is a very tight community, and there's, without going against the norm here, there is a very personal relationship and tight culture that's in lock sport, and there's already kind of like a pre-established opinion on certain things, and anyone come out and says anything against certain things, some people can get very upset about it. Being an Australian and the way that our culture is, I don't really give up if people get upset about what I've got to say, because in regard to it, I'm a truthful person and I'll give my actual opinion. One of the misconceptions that I think that is in lock sport is there's two paths that get chosen. Somebody enters lock sport and they've got no idea what it is, and they buy really shit picks, and they're picking really shit locks that require very little quality tools to open them. They get to the point where they know that they've opened them and that they've got to go to the next stage. They hit middle level locks and realise that the tools that they've got are adequate to open them, but they're not quite adequate, and they're looking for the next set. So what ends up happening is that they end up having to buy twice. Other side of the story is that people go and fork it right out and they buy a $200 plus set to start with. And what do they do? What do they buy with it? They buy a whole bunch of shit locks. And what ends up happening is they got these really high quality tools, but they've got nothing but shit locks. And then what happens is that, like, for instance, they go and buy, one of these Sinecos. They've got a $200 lockpick kit, when all that's needed, like, I could actually open this with probably a chook's bone. I could probably open this lock chewing up a fruit box straw, making a couple of peaks in it and sticking that in there and raking it. I could probably open it with a fruit box straw. So they went and bought $200 worth of tools thinking that this is going to be the way to go, and they bought nothing but shit locks. What ends up happening is that their advancement in their ability to pick locks is that they have learnt to pick nothing but shit locks. And then when it comes to the point that they then get to the middle point and they have to buy, high quality locks, their arse and their budget is being busted out by buying the high quality picks. The other thing is that happened is because they have bought really high quality picks, a lot of high quality stuff actually is not as thick as the cheaper stuff. The cheaper stuff is usually thicker. And the beginner stuff, because people are so heavy handed when they first start. People go in and buy an intermediate or advanced lockpicking kit, don't realise that it's actually thinner, and what they do is they get that really expensive pick, they stick it in there and they snap the bugger. Okay? So these are situations that, if you are aware of this before you even enter the game, you can really save yourself some money. My advice is that if you buy a cheap quality set that only has about 5 or 6 picks in it, it's got bottom of the keyway and top of the keyway tensioners in it, and spend all your money on locks. Because the situation is that once you start into the lock sport community and you've started picking a bit and you're watching other people's channels and that, you will realise that there are a lot of people that make their own picks. The bit of advice that I can say is that if you enter the game with just a reasonable small kit of reasonable quality, cost you about $60, I reckon, $50, and you spend your money on locks, and you enter the lock picking journey by going into from stage 1, and you get a couple of steps down the road and then try and make your own picks. Once you've got into the world of making your own picks, you end up, and you can actually achieve it, you end up can actually make high quality picks for very, very cheap. What you cannot do is that you cannot make high quality locks yourself. You can make the high quality picks yourself. You cannot make high quality locks yourself. So I suggest to spend the money on locks and not actually spend the money on the picks. Locks will resell through eBay and they're tradable and all the rest like that. Picks don't really resell. You don't get your money back for them or anything like that. So yeah, that's my advice. There are some brands, Sparrows, Peterson, and Southord. For actual beginners, I recommend going for Sparrows and Southord. Sparrows makes stuff that's in 25 thousandths, and for a beginner, that's pretty much perfect. As you get a bit better, you realise that some of the locks are more paracentrics and you need thinner locks. But if you only forked out $50, you know, that $50 kit will actually be there forever. You know, when you go and get your other kit that is more advanced, what you end up finding is that some locks are gunky and stubborn, and that you don't want to be sticking a high grade expensive pick in there and snap the bugger. You know, you've just lost out. You might as well grab that older, shittier first beginner set pick that is a little bit thicker and go in there and force him up with that. You won't lose out buying just a simple beginner's kit. If you can get them with the top of the keyway and the bottom of the keyway tension are about 4 or 5 picks. If you look at these handles, that's the dark shift kit. I think that the dark shift kit's great. It's just annoying when you first start because the handles are so thin. I myself like them like that, but I know a lot of people don't. Southord has a couple of kits that are about $50 that are for beginners. I can recommend them. There's nothing wrong with them. And what I do not recommend though is there are some kits that people don't realise how thin they actually are and what actually happens when you first start. I don't think a beginner should get anything that's below 20 thousandths in thickness. They're going to be susceptible to snapping because their technique will be quite heavy. But apart from that, anything that's above 20 thousandths and it's below $65, and yeah, I'd say just start there and look at spending all your money on locks, mate, because locks is what is actually going to teach you how to pick. The picks won't, the locks will. Anyway, everyone else, if you could go over and check his channel out and give him a thumbs up and check that all them pouches out, because he's done us a solid. It's a great video. Yeah, that'd make me happy. And thanks everyone, and I'll see you next time. Cheers everyone.